It's time for the mandatory shop tour, and this one is special because it's my very first. My shop occupies a 2-car garage attached to my home, just above 400 square feet. My intention with this tour is not to dig into the hyper specifics about all of the tools that I have. I will do that partly, but also to talk more broadly about how the systems in my workshop mesh together to facilitate my own workflow. Everything starts with lumber taken from either the side storage or the lumber rack above my metal cabinets. From there, it generally goes one of two places, the miter saw or the table saw, and then to my workbench. Workflow is everything when it comes to arranging a shop. I spent hours frustrated over not having things in the right place, and I still do, so it is a constant work in progress. One thing that has always held my shop back is the utter lack of electrical supply in my garage. I literally have one 20 amp circuit, which I abuse a lot, and a 15 amp circuit that powers the garage door opener and the lighting. I have combated this problem in several different ways, involving lots of extension cords and building power into my primary workbench. More on that later. My shop focuses on two tool systems, stationary tools and mobile tools. Let's break it down. The workhorse of my shop is my table saw. So much so that my entire shop layout was based on this tool and using my workbench as an outfeed table. I have a SawStop CNS, which is fully upgradable with all of the parts of the PCS, but at a much lower entry cost. My primary workbench is the Shopnation Ultimate Workbench, and the secondary is my miter saw station. The Ultimate Workbench has built-in power, dust collection, and lots of storage. I have blast gates and power strips on both sides, which facilitate the use of tools on top of the workbench. My miter saw bench is a love-hate situation. It was the first bench that I built when I moved into the house, back when I had nothing but space. I have the Dewalt Dw 734 miter saw, which is a terrific saw, but it is literally gigantic. The design of the sliding compound system works from front to back, meaning that the saw needs significant clearance behind itself to slide all the way back. Given this, I had to make a workbench that would support the depth required for this unit, and I don't regret it. I just wish that this saw had a sliding system a little more like the Festool or the Makita saws, which have a much more compact design. I supplement this workbench with a 2-stage Shopvac dust collector. The bulk of my organization revolves around this metal cabinet system from New Age Products, and I'll do my best to link everything from this video in the description below. I position this system directly next to my workbench and my table saw where it's needed the most. The system is a combination of lockers, cabinets, and a worktop, and it houses the majority of my hand tools, finishes, and supplies. Most of the time, this worktop becomes my catch-all for all my random supplies and materials, which all comes from a lack of having a defined place for these things to go. These cabinets are great because you can hide all of your secrets behind the doors. But inside, they're mostly just open shelving, which can create an entirely different kind of clutter that you're likely to forget about just because you're not looking at it. See the dilemma? I also have two open shelving units, one built using the Fix This Build That plans, linked below, and one wire shelving rack left by the previous homeowners. Brad's shelving primarily holds totes and miscellaneous household items. The Fix This Build That design is great if you are in need of economical open storage, and wire shelving is as well. But if I could do it all over again, I will always choose closed shelving over open shelving, with the exception of some things that I want to show off intentionally. Open storage is insanely hard to make it look attractive to the eye, and it really just rustles my jimmies from time to time, in a bad way. I also have a Rockler router table, but that's pretty self-explanatory. One of the most important things in a shop for me is making things mobile if at all possible. You never know when you may need to relocate things if a larger project comes through and just completely breaks your shop layout. Or you get the uncontrollable urge to rearrange your shop anytime it makes you anxious. Tool carts are where it's at. My tool carts hold the tools that I just can't dedicate benchtop space to, like my joiner, my spindle sander, and my planer. They both feature flip-down workbench casters, which can drop the stands to the ground in seconds. These tool carts are so necessary for me because I have effectively maxed out my available wall space, which leaves no room for these benchtop tools to go. A lot of the time it makes more sense to bring the tool to you than the piece to the tool, especially if you don't have space. These carts are my own design. If you guys are interested in seeing plans for these, let me know down in the comments.
Clamps. 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 Clamps.
Nothing makes me angrier than a puffed toad than walking back and forth across the shop for more clamps. Along the way, I'll probably find something to trip over, like my Shopvac or an extension cord, or both, at the same time. I know. Now my clamps can come to me wherever I am working thanks to this delicious clamp rack. Plans are available on my website, you know it, linked below. Another key for my shop is to always be increasing the storage and organizational options available to me. A well-organized shop is going to look different for everybody, but the most important thing is to have a place for everything to go. Everything. To go. Place. Have it. And I mean everything. Your drill? Shove it in a drawer. Your tape measure? Keep it next to that tool you use all the time. Your collection of dirty magazines? Maybe not that. In all seriousness, I suffered, and I mean actually suffered, for years, always packing tools away, shoving things into places they didn't belong, leaving them out in the open, and getting downright miffed the next time I'd come into the shop. If you do this, help yourself and find a better place for these things. You are worthy of proper tool storage. Always be patient when it comes to building up your shop. Despite what you tell yourself, nobody's shop was built overnight, and not without significant time, effort, and money. The key is to always make improvements as you go. Don't be afraid to make changes, mistakes, and even waste a bit of time and money. Small changes can really add up and improve your shop dramatically. Side note, if you live in a climate with extreme weather, buy a mini split. If it is so hot or cold that you can't survive in your shop, then you're not going to be working in your shop. Simple as that. If you guys like this tour or you learned something, make sure that you're subscribed. That way you can see my shop grow and change.
Every woodworker wants clamps. They need clamps. They dream of clamps. Whenever they sit down and they're pondering life, what they're really pondering is clamps.